made from a container. You moved. You didn't put up another one made from a container. Why?
No.
Why?
Yeah, that was an interesting one. So a couple of things. First of all, one of the big points with containers is the limitations of the shape. Your depth is only 7'6", I think it is. I need to recheck that, but we're around the 7'4" to 7'8" range, if I remember rightly. And so that is actually a really limiting factor. If you imagine so the way we had it towards the end was as a kind of a social seating setup, and what it meant was that you kind of had to. You had to kind of move your... He says move in his head without the microphone. Well done, you. Genius. So it means that you're constantly at a bit of an angle, and it felt tight. So, and then we had the same issue with the bar. So when we had the bar, we had a long, thin bar, which had 5 seats on each side. And again, it was just slightly too narrow for what we wanted.
Okay.
We could have added another in front of the first one. We could have added another container, and away we go. But you've obviously got the additional cost that would come from that, et cetera, et cetera. And then it would probably take too much space. So it's kind of a little bit of an oddity in terms of that width measurement, and it's something that people need to think about.
You've either got to love, or people are going to love, or they're going to hate the look of containers, and it's that very industrial kind of exterior look, unless of course you alter that via paint or a covering.
Yeah, you can clad it really easily. Right, let's talk about rust next, because that's an important one.
It almost always seem rusty.
Yeah, well, there's a reason for that. It's called Corten steel, which is what containers are made from. Now, if you imagine the life of a container as it's designed to do, it is on the ocean waves with water that is quite salty. Okay. Now, the way Corten steel is designed, it is designed to initially oxidize, rust, but it oxidizes to a very, very thin level. So the actual structural integrity of the steel itself is absolutely fine behind it.
Okay.
Okay. That is how it's designed to operate, which I think is really clever. Now, the problem is the aesthetic of that, if that is an issue for you, can be problematic. However, this Corten steel that was basically designed for containers is now used. You know, all of these fancy pants places that have that rusty metal look on their front entrance?
Yeah.
That is Corten steel. So that's what it's designed to do. So it gives you that rust effect, and but behind all of that, it's absolutely fine. So that's Corten for you. Now, where were we going with you made a point previously, and I totally missed it.
Well, that you can clad them and that kind of stuff.
Oh, yes, cladding. That was it. Okay, so you're absolutely right. So paint-wise, did you know there is actually a specific paint for containers?
No, but I figured there must be.
Yeah. So there's a specific paint for containers, which is designed to be able to attach effectively to Corten.
Lots of colours available?
Yeah. Oh, well, it's based on RAL, R-A-L, the main sort of colour matrix that you can get. So you can get any colour you want, really, easily enough. So you've got that, but then cladding. So one of the things that I was kind of thinking about when I was going through this whole process was, I genuinely have always wanted like an office in the garden, and a 20-footer would be absolutely ideal for that. But I know that it would be banned in the ranches if I'd left it exposed, and they would have a massive issue with that. So instead, I was going to just get like sawn wood and give it more of a timber cabin like feel to it,
barn boards or something.
Yeah, barn boards, exactly.
Timber cabin, that's nice.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of that, and then with an almighty massive window, because the big problem with these is they're quite dark when you use them just with the door and very little else. So I really wanted to do that one. It got vetoed by Her Majesty, obviously, but as most things are. Yeah. And some things you've just got to sacrifice to get the ones you really want.
Well, it sounds like Glenn has gone the opposite route. So we got the pergola, you have these ideas and do things in the backyard, and then we've got it just makes total sense. You've got a warehouse, you've got an office you're putting into a warehouse, you've got a car garage like Glenn does. Yeah. And you've got his car garage is essentially in a big warehouse. Yeah. And he needs office space.
Well, the point I made to Glenn was there is every chance in the future that your landlord's going to be a bit of a pain in the backside, and you're going to need to move. If you've built in an office, you have no option but to walk away from that and do it all over again. With a container, you need to take out the windows and that kind of thing, but it comes with you. It is possible to move it without too many issues whatsoever. And that is magic if you've got a business, because that's the whole, a whole massive cost saving for a fit out of a container. So that was kind of the start point for him. And then when he realized that he could kind of customize it in various different ways, so he's got 140, which is the main kind of customer area. He's got another 10 that's on the side of that downstairs, which is his office. He's got even got another one upstairs there, which is for parts and that kind of stuff as well. So he's really been able to use it. That's one of the great things, the versatility of these things. And again, he bought secondhand because he decided that, for his kind of rough and ready aesthetic, that it would work. And it has. It's a really great space that he's got available. So then when it came to DIP, it was a no-brainer for him that he did something similar. But again, for that one, it's less customer facing. So a little 20-foot office downstairs, but the parts for Borg and Beck and the work he's doing there is more important upstairs. So he's got I think he's actually got the same again upstairs for that also. So yeah, they work really well for him, and I'm glad that all worked out.
When you see people talking about making homes out of containers, what do you think?
Not as cheap as you thought it was. It's a great idea, but there's kind of two different perspectives to that. If you're looking, and if you're capable at DIY, and secondly, you are looking for the absolute cheapest place to live, then you could do something on a real shoestring, but it's going to be basic to say the least.
So living off the grid would be a great way to have a container home.
Yeah. But if you're looking for something for a family, and you're looking for an element of comfort, I'm not sure that it will give you that much cost saving versus traditional methods. Because whilst it's very strong, I mean, to give you an idea of how strong containers are, you can stack them fully loaded 8 high, which is just insane in my book. And I think each one can weigh 25 tons. Okay, I think is the max weight you can put in one of these. Again, don't quote me on that. I didn't check that one before we went on air. But they can certainly take a huge amount of weight. So, but then when you go to construction and the amount of weight that you're using with construction, almost universally, if you're going to do anything other than the absolute basics, you are going to need additional structural steel, especially in the floors, to be able to maintain the rigidity that you need.
And then as soon as you start putting windows and other things into it, you're reducing the rigidity.
Exactly, yeah. So the corrugated effect is actually not there just for aesthetics. That adds a huge amount of strength to the main structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something to really keep your mind on, because they're being sold as, hey, these can be a really affordable way to do it.
Yeah.
But to get it to that finished product, that could lead to a lot of costs.
The other thing that was fascinating for me was we were coming back from the Jebel Ali Resort over Easter, and we went round the road that goes back from the Jebel Ali Resort, comes right around the edge of the Jebel Ali free zone and where they're doing all the loading up of the containers. And then there was this back pile of smashed up containers that quite clearly have been dropped.
Oh no. Yeah. How'd they look?
Bad. Like really bad.
I wonder why they were dropped from.
Ouch. Well, I know what it looked like. It looked like, those big machines that basically grab them on each corner and then they kind of wheel them off from, to and from the ship.
It let go.
It looked like it let go.
I wouldn't doubt it. And those things can be pretty high when they're pulling it off a ship.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point. There is no way on this earth that those had a little bump. Those fell from height.
Yikes.
So it was fascinating to see. I mean, my eyes were out on stalks. Thank God that wasn't inside one of those or nearby.
Being a longshoreman is a dangerous job if you're around containers. I mean, truly.
Yeah, absolutely. But, it's fascinating to see that even though they are this incredibly strong, they still have limitations as well.